How many of you remember that song when it came out? Ooh, there's only a few of us here. Some of you were not even a glow in Mama and Daddy's eye at that time. I think that would have been like 1964, if I'm not mistaken. And so where was I in 1964? I was in Cardinal Mooney Latin School in the Archdiocese of Detroit, which is the seminary to become a priest. I was 15 years of age, and I had a vocation, and the Lord Jesus was going to make me a priest for life. I was going to marry into it. The unfortunate thing in 1965 is that the Monsignor Hardy in charge of it decided I was a little too rebellious. And so I come here today to share that rebellion with you. Because if you are here, you're rebellious. Does that make sense? If you're here, you are a rebel. Because if you were not a rebel, you'd be down at the Baptist church, the Presbyterian church, and that type of thing. And there's nothing wrong with that, but we're rebels. Let's claim that right here and now. And so in my rebelness, I've come to understand that my life is a mirror. And so I decided to talk about that today. Life is a reflection. And the question I ask is, what do you see in your mirror? That's a good I looked the other day figuring, I was feeling really young. I was feeling really young, and I went in the mirror and I looked. And the first thing I noticed, there was all this gray hair. And I want you to know that with my father's 90, almost 91, and I was with him about 2.5 months ago. He's in assisted living in Maui, and I walk in. Do you know the first thing my father said to me? He says, but you're getting gray. Then I looked at my face and I sort of said, what are all these lines? But the divine in me said, Lee, that's wisdom. And I got it. Do you see, living and being alive with time on this planet brings us that inner wisdom. So aging is not a thing of the mind. The body may naturally have a way of showing its maturity. Do you like that word? It's maturity. I'm doing this for myself. I don't really care about what you think. And I realized that with all the almost 66 years in my life, I've got maturity that I can help people, that I can show people, that I can teach people, that I can exemplify these teachings, and I can go out and learn more. You see, I'm at a point right now in my life where I'm not quite halfway done, because I've set a divine intention that I will live at least 124 years. The question I ask, have you set an intention for your life? Because one of the things that I'm finding as I deal with people is that there is this great fear of death. Well, wait a second. If we're creators, we can pick the time that we choose. We don't have to go by the law of averages and just die in an average life. So I'm picking that I will be at least 124 years of age, and while I'm doing that, I'll be doing what I love, functioning at the level I'm functioning at. So it's not like I'm going to be in bed like my dad is right now, not able to move. I'm going to be functioning as I'm functioning today. That's my intention. So I want to get into this idea of what am I doing here, and that is, here's the key thing. Our ability to demonstrate is only limited by our ability to provide a mental image of what we desire. The question I ask is, what is your mental image? Because I'm going to tell you right now, when I'm teaching classes, whether it be foundations class, whether it's inward journey, self-mastery, Eugene teaches, and other classes I'm teaching, and I get prayer requests from people. People are writing their prayers up, and they're putting down what it is in prayer, and they describe what their demonstration is. It may be this long or this long. Now remember, if you're giving that much information to an infinite power and presence that's going to create for you, it's going to give you this demonstration. So the question I ask is, what is the picture you're painting in your mind? Have you really taken that picture? Have you expanded on it? Or are you settling? Because sometimes we settle because we've not been taught to reach for the stars. And when we settle, we say, well, you know, my life is better than most. That's enough. What? What? It's enough? If you are an infinite expression of God, the divine, the infinite, created itself as you, giving you all the power, all the potential you could ever dream of, why would you stop and limit yourself? I ask myself that question every day. How am I limiting myself today? And it was really fascinating. I'm in the process, a lot of people here that are familiar know I've been doing Sri Vidya. I'm doing 2 forms of Sri Vidya, but I'm doing a first form that takes a year and a half. And so I've gone through 3 segments of it. So I've gone through 6 months. It's 2 months per segment. And I was feeling, in this meditation, I can feel my chakras opening. I could feel my kundalini rising. I was just shooting fire when I'm in meditation. Well, this week, I went to level 4 out of 7 levels. I couldn't handle it. I mean, it was firing through me. I was more alive than ever, and the guru told me that that would be true. And yet, a month ago, I could not imagine it. But because a teacher said, start preparing your way to know that more is coming. When we prepare the way that we're open to more coming, we're expanding our imagination. What's it like? What's it like to be in a state of samadhi that's better than the greatest sex you've ever had? Because that's how the gurus describe it. And I go, whoa. I want to know what samadhi is. I'm dedicating my life to samadhi. Who wants to join me? I would hope all of your hands would go up, because otherwise we really got to work on your imagination. Most of the time, a lot of marriages end because samadhi has gotten stagnant. You see, in a relationship, the ability to experience more love, more joy, more peace, more beauty, more connection is without limit in every aspect. But we have a view of it that when a couple goes out, we were talking with a couple last night. It was really an incredibly wonderful conversation. That like Jean and I go out, we like to dine. And we go out and we dine. And sometimes when we're there, we simply are with each other. There's no conversation. It's very comfortable. It's very peaceful. It's very easy. Have you ever been out where you felt like you were forced to make conversation, to keep conversation going? Think about all the useless stuff we talk about. Think about all the drama that's created by useless conversation. That's where most drama comes from, because useless conversation is conversation where we're talking about others and they're not present. You hear that? Well, did you hear about so-and-so? What about you? Did you hear about so-and-so? Did you hear what they're doing? Do you hear how life's going? Is that any of our business unless we're trying to support them and raise them? It's not of our business. Our business is, how can I be the greatest expression of love that I could possibly be in this moment? And in order to be that expression of love, I've got to release all attachment to how anyone else is behaving. Anyone else, including our children. In my case right now, including my father. My father is just amazing as he's going through this part of his life of where he's almost at transition point, because he's going back in his mind, and my mother, who passed 6.5 years ago, is now a part of his daily life. And when I called him yesterday, or he called me yesterday, the longest conversation we've had in 3 months, he was asking me, why wasn't Mom there? She told him she would be there. When is she coming? Would I call her and make sure she shows up? His mind is already moving beyond the veil of the human form into the next. I've already done prayer work. 3 weeks ago now, I started my prayer work for my mother to come and help my father go through. Prayer is being answered in ways beyond anything I've ever imagined. But because I've imagined more, now I've not only called my mother, I've called my brother, I've called my dad's 9 brothers and sisters, I've called his mother and father, I've called in his best friends, so that my dad can have a peaceful journey. However that journey is, whenever that journey is. But I'm taking the limitations of how people go through their lives away from my dad. I am freeing him by surrounding him with all the care he can imagine in human form and surrounding him with all the care he hasn't even imagined or he is imagining in the spirit form. So what I'm doing is I'm taking the image and I'm combining it with an unwavering commitment supported by aligned thoughts, words, actions, and feelings that are focused on the desired result, which is sure to guarantee success. There are real key words there. Unwavering commitment. Unwavering commitment is I have made a decision. When we make a decision means there is no other possibility. When I committed to, finally, number 31 commitment, when I committed to quit smoking, when I really committed, there was no other decision. That day it stopped. When I committed to going to bars, that day it stopped. But I had to have a motivation. I had to have a reason. Remember, we've got to have a big why. In those days, my why was being a father. I had just become a father, and I said, oop, that ain't going to serve me. Oop, that ain't going to serve me. That's not the image I choose. So I got a really clear idea, and I imagined what kind of father did I want to be. I started to create the father that was not my father. My father did the very best he could, but he gave me the desire. Well, I want to go there. I was listening to Guruji Singh online, and Guruji Singh was talking about how right now on the planet, the energy that's being transmitted by the media is extremely negative. It does not matter whether you're on the right. It does not matter whether you're on the left. The energy that we are bombarded with is a dark energy. I'm going to use the word dark as opposed to negative. Is that okay with you? So I'm going to use a dark energy because it's not about joy. It's not about this. It's really about gossip. And what Guruji talked about, he says, this energy, this dark energy, is causing even the great light beings to get angry. And what's happening is that people are getting angry and they don't know what to do with the anger. And I love what he said. Let the anger be the motivation for you to commit to being the light in the world greater than you've ever been today. Because when you commit to being the light in the world, it doesn't matter if this room is pitch black dark. And I take a match and I light that match up. No matter how big the room is, the room becomes lit. The light overcomes the darkness. That's why when you go to most, I remember Catholic churches, I remember now Buddhist and Hindu temples, and then the Protestants afterwards, as history unfolded, there was always candles burning. The candles were the symbolic representation of the individual light of the divine lighting up the place so that people could be in an atmosphere that was God-centered, that was focused on the divine. So when you were there, and as I was growing up as a Catholic, you had all these candles, and you put a quarter in at the time, and you put the quarter in, and you would light the candle. What you were doing was symbolically, you were raising your consciousness and saying, this is my light, this is the light of the divine, and I'm now going to be that light in the world. It wasn't about lighting a candle and God was going to forgive you. You see, it was about you becoming the light. All of the sacraments, all of the rituals, all they were doing was trying to raise our level of awareness so that we could become the Christ consciousness, the Buddha consciousness, the Krishna consciousness, so that we could lift and rise and become that in a moment. So I'm really reevaluating all the things that I was brought up with and seeing, okay, how can I go beyond what I was taught about it? And what is the mystical element of it? Because it's in the mystery that we find the truth of life. You see, we've got to get beyond the illusion of the appearance and go beneath it. Because if you recall, all the great texts, the spiritual texts that have been written, they've been written 2,000 or more years ago. When you look at the Bible, when you look at the Bhagavad Gita, when you look at the Upanishads, when you look at even the Quran, all of the great books. But they were written at a time where people thought differently, where people had to be taught through analogies, through storytelling, because our minds were not as developed as they are now. Our minds are now developed enough where we don't really need the stories. We can figure out, okay, this is what the meaning is. We can go right to the meaning, but here's where we got to go further. We've got to take the meaning and we've got to get into the mystical. And the mystical is the experience of the divine. The mystical is, how do I feel this deep sense of oneness? How do I know that my energy flowing through me can be greater? Without practicing a spiritual tool, we can't know that. See, and that's what we talk about week in and week out at Agape is we're here to promote how to better self-love through conscious living. And what we do is we provide tools for you to change your life. You see, I can't change your life. If I could change your life, I'd help you. Trust me, I want to change my wife's life. It has never worked. I want to change. Here's the interesting thing. This was a conversation last night as well. Anyone here have children? A lot of people have children. How many of your kids are living the life exactly as you envisioned it when you held them as a baby? There isn't one. Because those kids are completely different than anything you've imagined because they've got their own imagination and the creative power is within them and they're using it and you don't have a choice in their thing. You can only be there to support them on their journey as they unfold, unravel, and create their own experience. That's the only choice you've got. The thing you've got, though, is you've got power for you. And that's what I want you to embrace today. When you're looking in the mirror of life and you're looking at what's demonstrating your life, you realize no matter how many other people are in that mirror, the only image that you can change in the mirror is your own. And the question I ask is, what do you want that image to look like? What do you want that image to feel like when you look at it? Because that's the most important thing. When you've got that image there and you're looking at that image, how does that image feel? There are a lot of really physically beautiful people. They'll look in the mirror and see that image, and they see ugliness. How many people saw a movie, What the Bleep? Do we know? If you haven't seen it, get the movie. There's a mirror thing in there, and she got the revelation, and she was sitting in the bathtub afterwards, just drawing hearts on her body, trying to get herself to really start to understand that her body is perfect for her. And she doesn't have to meet society's idea of what a perfect body is. Because society doesn't know what's right for you. Remember, society is a collective consciousness. And a collective consciousness, what does it want to do? It want to fit everyone in a box so we can all be a part of the same thing so we can be controlled. It's easier to be controlled when we're like everyone else. So they want you to have the idea of being normal. But what did we say at the very beginning of the talk? You're not normal. There is no such thing as normal. Normal is an absolute illusion. You are a Rolling Stone. You were meant to be Mick Jagger. Show me your lips. Think about that man. They said that man would be dead. The Rolling Stones will never last longer than the Beatles. Do you remember that? They're drug addicts. They're not going to go anywhere. It's now 50 plus years later, and those dudes are still touring, having the greatest success as they ever did. They've got a juice about what they do, and they're living that. That's the most important things in their lives. The Beatles came, and they got exactly what they wanted. They created everything they could create together in the time they were together, and then they broke up. And then what happened after they broke up? The individuals brought out their individual talents, George and John, and then Paul, and even Ringo. Ringo's coming to town, in case you didn't know it, with his all-star band. But he's a character in of himself. He was a part of the greatest movement of rock and roll ever. He was a critical part of it. And yes, Alex, he was a drummer. So Alex is our Ringo Starr. Steve, you can pick whether you're John or Paul, or David, you're John, you're Paul, you're George. You could be Paul. I don't care. Who am I to have an opinion? Anyway, so I want to go from there, and I want to go to our role then in this and every moment is to progressively change our mind and create our mental tendency. The question I ask, what is the tendency of your thought? What is the tendency of your words? What is the tendency of your actions? What is the tendency of your feelings? This aspect of feelings, a lot of people are going through dark times right now. There's a lot of depression. Probably, what is it? They say 1 out of 3 people is on an antidepressant today. 1 out of 3 people is on an antidepressant today. And a lot of people are on all these codeine-type drugs, oxycodone and things of that nature, pain meds. We have a society that has been made numb. What I'm asking you to do is to start to feel. And can you, tomorrow, feel just this much better than today? Not this much, but this much. What would it take for you to feel this much more tomorrow? Could it be just making one phone call to someone? Could it be smiling while you're running? Ever see people run? They're the meanest people in the world. I don't know why people run. I mean, they've got this, they got the pucker. We've talked about the pucker before. They got the pucker on the face. I'm going along in Maui, and they're going, what's wrong with that dude? Well, he's a Rolling Stone, that's why, So, and if you go to the gym, go into a gym. I'm in a gym 5-6 days a week. Watch people, they go, you think, no, you don't think. You know why people have hemorrhoids. Because they don't know how to breathe. No. Breath is life. So you can go anywhere in your life and you can smile a little bit more. You can be a little bit kinder. Just a little bit kinder, and you will change your life, and you will change lives of others by a simple act of kindness. We think that we've got to do great works. A great work is a simple smile to someone who is suicidal. Think about how there's many stories out there about someone who's ready to commit suicide, and someone just gives them a gift of a smile, or why don't you join me for a cup of coffee? And it changes life. I'm asking you to be the person that changes life. I'm asking you to be the smile. I'm asking you to be kindness. I'm asking you to be conscious. I want to thank you for joining us today. I'm so grateful that you took your time to watch or listen to this message. If you found this message beneficial, I would ask that you go to our website, agapecsl.com. Once there, click on the donate button and experience the joy of conscious and purposeful giving. Or if you would like, text your gift by simply dialing 972-532-6976. It is through your gifts that we are able to bring this message to you in the world. I would ask that if you like this message, to please subscribe to my YouTube channel under my name, Lee Wolak. Again, I want to thank you for joining me in the Agape community as we learn how to better self-love through conscious living.